We live in interesting times with the illusion of freedom. We have labels thrown here and there, labels that are supposed to never be. Victims are given labels to put them to silence. Labels are thrown here and there. Remember, labels ends up giving an identification of someone or something. It has a meaning, sometimes deeper, sometimes not much. But at the end of the day, you are able to separate someone or something by just a label. If you put a label of a particular apparel or dress or shirt or whatever it may be, we can then separate it, whether it's by brand, whether it's by design, whether it's by the type of fabric. There's a separation. But what happens when we take things too far and when society allows too many things? Because the strength of a label is as strong as how much people market it. It's as much as how many people accept it. A label is as good as how much we put it out there. But when we don't play with those labels, it fades like it never existed. What happens when victims find themselves caught up in a place whereby everyone is calling themselves part of what they're suffering from or going through because it's the in thing? How many people are taking advantage of victims who have suffered from domestic, and being done unconsented things? And now some people have realized, well, this is a new marketing tool for them to feel, to enjoy fame, or for people to feel sad for them, whether it's for garnering views, whether it's for their, I don't know, psychotic way of thinking. But they are actual victims suffering. And what happens is now the actual victims are re-victimized because, one, they didn't choose to be what they were or who they are or who they become. Now another person comes from nowhere and comes and claims to be like them, but they are not. They don't know their pain. They don't know the days and nights that are colder. They don't know the days and nights that this person endures. They don't know the mental torture, the emotional torture. But because labels are thrown here and there, boom, all of a sudden, a victim is re-victimized all over again. And when they stand up and say, yo, this is wrong, everybody says, you should keep quiet. In fact, you don't know anything. But mind you, the victim already has all the receipts. They have all the facts and evidence. You see, just because you have a feeling doesn't mean you're eligible to whatever you want to label. Because emotions run high, run low. But facts and evidence remain to be as they are, constant. You can't change them. It is what it is. If something happened, it happened. If it's fire, it's fire. If it's water, it's water. Water can't be fire, fire can't be water, moon can't be sun, sun can't be moon. It is what it is. Facts, evidence. And so when people are not very careful, we end up in a society whereby real victims lose their place. No one hears. Have you not noticed a sad trend whereby criminals are given more voices, but their victims are kept to silence? So a criminal has done whatever it is they've done. They've been visited in their prison. They've been visited wherever it is. Their stories have been heard. But we rarely hear the stories of the victims. The victims are pushed on the side. We don't know what happens to them. We never get to hear the story. They are pushed to silence. But the perpetrator, they're celebrated. Movies will be done. Series will be done. Documentaries will be done. But the victim, you don't hear the story. Because the label is, oh, those ones. How many times do people put labels just to make someone feel like they don't exist? In a family, they say, oh, that's that type of person. They give you a name. That name, once it's mentioned, everybody puts you on the side. How many victims of DV are normally placed aside just because of a label? Or the stubborn one. Or how many times do we see this in families where a child who's standing up, the black sheep who's rising up above the generational trauma and curses, is being given a nickname? Why? Just to keep them silent. How many times we see them in systems where a generation rises up and say this is wrong, but they're given a label. Next thing you know, their voices have been silenced. How many times do we see this happen? Too often. And then we have another group which take things to a whole extreme level. It is easy nowadays very interesting for people to just label anything and do some random test online without having professionals to sit them down and tell them, yo, maybe you're suffering from ABCD, maybe it's a disorder, maybe it's not a disorder. But because someone does not want to invest in that, in someone within that profession, they come up and wake up and say, if someone, for example, if someone holds them accountable or is trying to be protective, all of a sudden the person who's trying to help them turned narcissist, turned toxic. But they are warning you. And once an incident happens, you will call them victim blaming, but they are like, I warned, or like many people say, that person is a prophet of doom. No, they're not a prophet of doom. They watched a pattern, they saw this pattern, it has been repeated enough times, they analyzed it, they had enough receipts and evidence to say, this can be a repetition, but no one listens to them. How many times do we see politicians who have the same trend when they got into politics, and some people imagine that, I don't know, magically in a world of illusion that they will change when they get into power? No, they'll just become worse. Whatever they were in the past, they'll just be 10 times worse when they get into power. And that's why it's very important to know, why do we label, and who's benefiting at the end of the day? Because all I keep seeing is more victims. For example, let's say if it's a demonstration. So let's say two generations, a generation millennial and a generation Z combined, that against a particular system or a particular revolting up against something. At the same time, you'll have goons or state-sponsored goons, whichever way you choose to look at it. They're also within the same demonstration. Now, when something goes sideways, we'll hear it's Gen Zs and millennials. But you need to understand, even the goons are also Gen Zs and also millennials. It's a combination. Like an incident that happened, I think, 2 days ago. One in our country, but two different counties. In one county, there were a group of, I could tell they would be Gen Zs. This could be, I was looking at their age, roughly 18, 17, 18 there. I could tell even by their stature, I could tell. And so they were in one area. And so I noticed they were attacking women. For reasons I can't understand. So I'm looking from a CCTV point of view, from the from the content I was able to receive. When I look at it, there's a lady on one end who's been mugged. They take things from her. There's another lady who wore orange, and she was looking at the other lady, and you could see she was making a smirk on the other lady being robbed. So she was like a road distance from the other one. And she's looking at the other one like, I mean, you should be the smarter one. Mind you, as she's walking, she walks literally into the trap of the other young boys. And you know what they do? They take everything from her. And in that moment, it's near a school, a public school. And I could see people watching, men and women watching from, no one did anything. She fought and fought and fought and fought. Remember, she was making a smirk on the other one, and she lost everything. To a point, they even almost pulled up her inner in the process as she's fighting for her phone. And then they left. Same day, different counties, another guy travels from one county, goes to another coastal county to go and threaten the lady who was a child. This guy has been playing the wife openly. Goes to this neighborhood and starts to threaten the lady. So the neighbors realize, hold up, there's a commotion. A guy, Gen Z, listens and like, nope, this is wrong. You can't come from wherever you come from and start threatening to off someone and the child. He steps up. Is able to rally others. And so he rallies neighbors and everything. And he says, you know what, man? You're not going to do that nonsense in this side of town. Before that guy knew it, he was literally, that guy who came with threats, he was literally escorted up to the public transport and told never to come back to that area. They saved their life. So in one area, we see destruction. In another area, we see hope in humanity. And again, we have labels. Gen Z, millennial, name them. So it's very important when we put labels on anything or anyone. Everyone seems to be a professional or an expert. You can't be 2, 3, 4 years into marriage and all of a sudden you are the one on to do an expert and write all the books about marriage. Have you gone through your storm? Have you gone through the moment you ask yourself, is this what I signed up for? How many times have you looked up something because of an ailment, only to be shocked by the search engine and ask yourself, maybe to such a bad idea, dig into, then realize we really don't know. How many times do you think you know something until an expert tells you, hold up, step aside. This is my area. It's always important to be very careful with the labels we put, because if you're not careful, victims become re-victimized, because labels isolate. If you're not very careful, you may be the reason someone else is going through the same cycle of pain, of heartache, just because you placed a label. It's very important to ask yourself, these labels you keep throwing here and there, are they worth it in the end, or are they a weapon formed against ourselves? Think about it.